Good evening and welcome back to the Mancunian Way. My name is Mayan. I am always your host. And we are joined by Dante, the legend who's always on the show. Very good friend of the channel from 1894. Harry, blue fan from Hull. Should all know who Harry is. Top guy. Very outspoken. He will say it. Me and Harry have had some right ding-dongs. Oh, we've lost him. He's gone. Disappeared. Yeah, he was about to praise him and he gone. And we've got Jerry's joined us as well. Dante, do you want to introduce everyone into this and why we're actually here? Because I'm starting to understand there's not a lot of people fully understanding this right now.
Hi, Martin. So just wait, there's Harry. So Harry is behind us in Block 115. He's a very, very vocal fan, gets a lot of the chants going at the back. And he is a home and away blue who's a supporter of 1894. He also there's a disabled section at the back of the stadium. And Harry has some, his own disability issues. And so he gets in contact with a lot of blues and has his own frustrations about what's going on in terms of the way the fans are being treated. And I thought it'd be, worth getting Harry on. He's got some great points to make. Jed, as some of you might know, remember the King of the Kippax? Jed Sounds Off was the great column that was going for donkey's years. Jed Isaacs is up there.
Over 30 years that column went for.
Jed's brilliant because he can remember stuff that we've all forgotten, about things that happened in the stadium. And I remember we had a fans forum about 10, 15 years ago where we did invite Danny Wilson. And Jed kind of pointed out to everybody about what's going to be happening with level 2 and the different changes that are going to be happening in, the corporate areas. And things just gone on and on and on and on. So I just thought this is a time where the City fans are really engaged at the moment in terms of discussions about what's going on. For some people, it really affects them. Some people it doesn't quite affect them, but they need to understand that it will affect them at some point. City are coming for everybody. The context is that we don't hate the club. We love the club. We've just done a deal with the club for them to buy some of our banners to put in the new museum in the North Stand. And that's money that we're going to reinvest into it. So we get on with loads of people at different levels of the club. So there's not, we hate the club. And for all of us, we still love the club. But there are a number of things that are going on, which is like the only language they understand is PR, public protest, because we are at last resort stage. Ultimately, without any new season tickets in the stadium, it's going to be quite possibly a stadium of individuals. And match day pricing is linked to season ticket availability. If there's no season ticket availability, people have to pay these stupid prices, which means we're all going to be priced out of it over the next few years. So I think it's a really good discussion point. Obviously, before tomorrow's game against Villa, we've got invited people to join the demonstration, peaceful demonstration outside the Colin Bell stand statues at 7 p.m. There is no concourse action tomorrow because it's a direct rival for a top 5 place. As Pep said, get behind the team. But if there's no announcements positive by the Wolves game, and that's linked to the City Matters meeting on the 1st of May, then there will be a concourse protest again against Wolves. And we know there's going to be thousands doing it already. We just don't know exactly how many, because it could be 6, 7, 8,000, could be 12, 13, 14,000. But there's a lot of solidarity now between season card holders looking after the fellow Blues who haven't got season tickets. And if you can't go, you might lose your season ticket because of these minimum number of games that you've got to attend. So there's a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, that's the thing that has really upset me, actually, and that seems to. I know it's the price and everything, but that minimum thing is crazy to me. It is crazy now. Minimum. I know it's 10 games. Well, it's 16, but you can only defer, or you got to go to 10 and defer the other 6, I'm presuming, or whatever they want to do with it. But it's the price freeze. And the one thing I would say, big up to everyone, I want to say, Dante, well done on that very first one against Leicester City, because I was there, it was amazing, and it made noise. I think Steve mentioned it there earlier on, the South Stand. It got onto Abu Dhabi media and TV and everything. And what you've done is what we've all done now is rattle those cages to get them to listen. But what the sad thing is, it shouldn't have got time to rattle a cage to get to this situation. But it's only a baby step, the price freeze. Charging so much money on tickets, season tickets, is ludicrous anyway. Pep Guardiola said he wants a big atmosphere tomorrow, which I get. It's Aston Villa. Well, maybe tell your bosses to charge a little bit lower so we can fill the stadium, because there's loads of seats left for tomorrow. So
That's right. And we've got the same prices next year.
Yeah.
So I think they're banking that we're going to be top of the league next year. But the point is, even if we are, there's still not going to be empty seats. And they're very big on, we didn't have all the season tickets turn up for this game. But if they're selling 15,000 match day tickets for the Villa game, and they only sell 9,000 or 10,000 of them, why are they turning around and saying 35% of match day people don't turn up? It's always chipping away. They want to get rid of season tickets and make it into expensive tickets for each and every person. You can't bring your families. You can't bring you might have parents who are alive. You might have your kids who want to get into football. You cannot bring. I can't bring my kids to the game tomorrow if I wanted to. It's going to cost an absolute fortune.
Yeah, it's crazy. Harry, it's great to have you on. What's your perspective on all this right now? Obviously, I know how passionate you are, because I've spoken to you privately about this. You are a top blue, like Danny says. But what's your opinion on all this?
Yeah, sorry for having that freeze there. I don't know what happened. But, I've spoke to you two off camera. It's basically become a mess, because do you really think we should be singing "You Can Stick Your Beard Go-Go Up Your Ass"? We don't want to be singing that. We want to be getting behind Pep's boys on the pitch and on the concourse. We want to be there just getting to know every single blue we can. And when you look at tomorrow, the night game, and it's been changed around because of the FA Cup. Don't get me wrong, FA Cup's got to take priority, but that date should have been set standalone so fans can plan ahead. Hotel prices, train prices, people with work commitments, childcare commitments, and then they're charging us £71 as an adult. That's just the adult alone, like Dante said. You can't justify it, because ultimately we are the working man's game or working woman's game, and people can't afford that, especially when they're on minimum wage. So please tell me how the club can justify that, man, because it doesn't make sense, does it?
No. To me, they can't justify it at all. And it's great, in a way. Yes, there's, like Danny said, the frozen prices, but it's not affordable now. How's that going to be affordable next season?
Exactly. And you've got...
Yeah, go, mate.
Okay, yeah. Because you've got to think, like I say, that's just your match ticket alone, just for the adult. Then if you've got another adult come in, like your partner, and then that's another £70 on top, then your children, obviously, for example, me coming from Hull, I've got to pay for a hotel, and the travel lodges I stay at, they was looking at £60 minimum when that date got rearranged, and it's just like, you want me to pay? No disrespect to the travel lodge, because they're doing what they've got to do, but £60 for a travel lodge is a lot at such short notice. Now, for the person who's getting a match ticket, that £71 quickly turns into 130 on top of your travel. So depending where you are in the country, whether you're driving, whether you're training it in, you could be talking £40 for your train, which is 170, food and drink as well. So we're talking 200 quid for a top four battle just because of the sake of the ticket price, which really should not be justifiable at 70 quid. That 70 quid stands alone. And surely, because we're in this situation, top four battle, don't get me wrong, we are the four-peat champions, but we should be looking at set categories for this. Category A, Category B, Category C. And I've said this on Twitter before, because Villa are like not a top six team, traditional top six, it should be adults £40, concessions £30. That way it's affordable for the working man or the working woman.
Yeah. I'm just looking now, the amount of seats that are available tomorrow's crazy. I didn't realise there was that many seats.
Yeah, I think certainly local fans are voting with their feet. You know, people who
Yeah.
the club going in the bad days are just deciding it's not. I mean, the only way, as we and Jen were talking this afternoon, the only way that we're going to get a full house really is if that game was going to be a title decider. We were going to present the trophy straight after the game, Jed. You know what I mean? It's like they don't read the room. And again, Pep's made this thing today. You know, get behind him. But his mates have already set the prices for next year. We think there's still 2 City Matters meetings, 1st of May, 12th of June. They can make some tweaks, they can make some changes, they can provide some discounts. We've got all of those cup games next year, League Cup, it could be a Europa League or Champions League. They made the Champions League prices too high as well, so you don't get the intimidating atmosphere. And we have a 0-0 draw against Inter Milan, which ultimately, if it was the right people on the ground, would have got a 1-0 win. We don't get Real Madrid the next round in the qualifying round, which means we're probably still in the competition. You know what I mean?
We messed up completely on the Inter Milan pricing because they were pushing it as a repeat of the 23 final.
Yeah.
So they were pushing that as being, you know, worthy of charging stupid ticket prices. But what they should have done at the same time is give the prices for the other 3 home games. A lot of people saw that price for the Inter game. The other prices hadn't been announced. So they jumped out the cup scheme. And that meant that they weren't getting decent prices for the last 3 home games. The club refuses to give prices in time for people to make the decisions.
Yeah.
And next season, with, you know, all right, we'll see how things go up till Christmas. After Christmas, we'll have another 8,000 seats to fill. And they're not going to fill those 8,000 seats at 71 quid for a midweek game against just about anybody. Maybe if it's a derby, maybe if it's Liverpool. But if it was a derby or Liverpool, there'd still be too many away fans buying those tickets through the touting partners. And that's going to knacker the atmosphere. You know, everything, all the problems that we're having as fans are related to the ticket prices. We've got too many people not City supporters coming to the game because we've priced them out. You look at that semi-final the other year against Real Madrid, and the ground was infested with the buggers. Now, I can accept somebody wanting to see City as a tourist, but not away fans in the home end. And this is all due to prices. And, you know...
That's also a security matter.
Sorry?
That's also a security matter for the safety of, let's say, Real Madrid. If a Real Madrid fan's in there, that's their safety and our safety. So surely the club have got to respect that if they're going to jump up and celebrate, like the Liverpool situation in the South Stand, they're going to get the head kicked in. Now, I'm not condoning the violence, but that's their safety, because we're going to react just as much when, if like we're celebrating, if we scored a goal, Liverpool fans might start targeting us. The safety of everyone is compromised.
Harry, they've done away with segregation in for the course of money, haven't they? And having a
Exactly.
ninth partner now and having 8,000 seats with potentially no season tickets just means we don't know where these seats are going to end up. We don't know where they get sold back to the club, and we don't know what happens. And it shows us sold, and then nobody's in that seat, or random person from wherever is in that seat. So we're doing away with segregation, and we don't trust the process of what happens if we don't attend that game. What happens to that ticket? You know what I mean?
But we also have a similar situation, and this has been going on ever since we first qualified for the Europa League back in 2010, or I think we might have qualified a year or two earlier than that. But in that qualification, when we finished 5th, we had UEFA taking chunks of tickets, certainly in the East Stand, and those tickets were going to UEFA supporters, and they were often supporting the away team. And in those areas, we know that there's 250 seats go to the away team in the Colin Bell Stand. We know that, and they get surrounded by stewards. But UEFA give tickets to just about anybody in the East Stand, and they can be supporting who they want. And that, again, is a security issue. And again, it puts fans off from attending. And that's been going on every season in the Champions League. Because, it happened, I think it started in the Europa League, but we've had something like 14 seasons, 15 seasons in the Champions League. And it happens at just about every game. And like you say, it's a security issue. And it puts fans off. It puts City fans off when they're going to a game being surrounded by by supporters of the foreign team. I won't say foreigners, but supporters of the foreign team. Or alternatively, they've been shifted from their seats. The seat doesn't go to a UEFA guest, and yet they can't get their own seat for the match. And all these things have been happening for, like I say, for 15 years that we've been in the Champions League.
It's also all competitions, Jed. It's the Plymouth fans in our seats. It's the FC20 fans who come for the Watford game. It could be anything. There's been swathes of Feyenoord fans who weren't in the kind of UEFA section for Feyenoord fans. They were all over the place, and they were kicking off in the third tier. You know what I mean? East Stand.
Again,
it's also simply FA Cup when people in level 3 get put down in South and level 1 because they've got to give the level 3 tier to the rival team of the FA Cup.
Yeah,
and they're also throwing down like objects.
But we know that there seems to be a lack of CCTV in the top section of the South Stand. We saw that when the Liverpool fans were chucking stuff over the other year in the Cup.
Exactly.
There's not a lack
and
of
that's
CCTV.
Another safety issue.
There's not a lack of CCTV in South Lower though, Jed, because fans, even if you kind of show any passion, they're being kind of filmed. Was it you in that seat? Was it you? They've got all the evidence in the world, and we know of people that I think it's like they're trying to break up the section, the vocal areas. Anyone who's a bit lively, you would get chucked out for something minimal. If you put your hand on a steward's shoulder, that's assault. But 15 of them can go and follow you into the toilets or wait for you outside the toilets. Did you do this? Did you do that? And we want you to leave. And so I'm pretty sure it's can we get one or two of these guys out each game, free up the seats? That doesn't become a season ticket. That becomes a seat that gets sold at the highest price. So
it just goes back in the pot, doesn't it? It's not released.
But where does this leave it? If the club, the club originally talked about atmosphere. There's absolutely no point making, extending the North Stand tier 2 the way that they are doing. And I thought it would have been a lot cheaper to just duplicate the South Stand if they don't want that as an atmospheric home end. And if they do want it as an atmospheric home end, you can't be chucking people out as soon as they start singing.
Well, by the way, the one thing I know we're talking about there yet as well. I've just checked the semi-final for Wembley. Have you organised? Have you done another protest for Wembley down there? Have you told everyone not to go again? I'm being sarcastic, by the way, with that because there's loads of seats available.
I think that is just simply because we've been so many times, and it's a Sunday 4:30, which means you get back late. Yeah, Forest will sell out because they've not been for years since the playoff final. and before that, was it the League Cup final against Oldham or something like that? You know, they haven't been for absolutely years. So,
No,
but we go more
yeah,
than ever. Yeah, we go more than ever. So, you know, in the old days, if we had a semi-final of the FA Cup, we'd be at Villa Park, and there'd be 45,000 there. There'd be 22,000 from each club. No one would say, "Oh, you've only took 22,000," because that's the semi-final should be at a neutral ground anyway. The idea it should be.
No, but I've just checked as well. Southampton's going to get really low on the point system.
It always does that though, Martin, because same with Brighton. No one goes to Brighton or Southampton, so obviously the match day members get their fair chance in an away game.
Do you know the one thing, by the way, that's really annoyed me in all this? Yeah, because the seems to get pricing, you know, it's match day, but it's this minimum of 10 that has bugged me. Really bugged me that. Because, for example, you break your leg, God forbid you don't. Someone breaks the leg, they can't go for 2-3 months, and they miss a load of games because we don't know how the fixtures are going to fall. Is that it? Do you just lose all your points for years and years and years?
What about you, Martin? You know, looking after your family and stuff. If you have to become a carer, anything could happen in your life in your own spare time, can't it? Which can affect years. And there's been no clarity on what happens here. You know, we've had people before. I just watched another program where we had other reps on, and they were saying, you know, people asked last year if they could defer tickets, and they can't. You know, they were told straight no. And what happens is they've been keeping the season ticket by, you know, sharing the season ticket with some friends and family, but they're squeezing the amount of people that you can use to help you with that, because ultimately they want more and more of you to bang it on the exchange. But the problem is, it's just, you know, it's going to be a ridiculous price, which is going to be somebody who's not really going to contribute much to the atmosphere, I would think. But even, you know, why should everybody be ripped off? Why should people in the corporate areas be ripped off? You know, people who work hard, earn good money in life, why should they be ripped off? You know, it's a nonsense. And we were told 115.
Somebody's going to get ripped off if you're paying 100 million to agents over 2 years.
60 million, yeah. We were told, but
that was only one season.
The wait on the Champions League, are we going to qualify? It's nothing to do with qualifying for the Champions League, and it's something to do with the 115 charges. They've already given Ireland £500,000 a week. He's still going to get paid. He's not going to go skint because they've done a price freeze. They absolutely can afford to give more to fans, but they're going to lose a generation of fans here, despite the success, because people are not going to be turning up. People can't get in. People just come off the cup schemes. People come off platinum, and people are voting with their feet. But Martin, this thing about the 10 is absolutely, it's made a massive impact. Massive impact.
It's annoyed me. You know, I couldn't see. I'm not one of these. I'm all right, Jack. So this is not. Yes, I get some people are okay, but this is a thing for everybody.
And they'll come for everybody. They will come for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, a pensioner might be getting 50% off. Next year, they might, you know, take away that, you know, that discount. You know, it could be anything by stealth. You know what I mean? And that's what we're saying to the Blues. If you've got a season ticket and you're all right, well, think about your friends, your family, your Blues who haven't got a season ticket, who are trying to get on the ladder, who want to bring their kids to become season ticket and keep the generational link going, who are having to pay a fortune to go to the game. You do it for them. You know what I mean? You will make an impact. You know, it's 6 minutes. This is the Wolves game. You know, it will make an impact. It'll go straight to Abu Dhabi. Something will come off the back of it, which will be an improvement for fans. And sadly, it's the only language they understand.
Yeah.
Can I also add something onto this, please?
Yeah, of course, come on.
Just before COVID, I had an operation on my knees, and I was out of work for like 6-7 months. Now, if I need another operation, especially as a disabled wheelchair user, which could likely happen in the next few years, if this if this minimum requirement of attending 10 games, which is coming into effect, say if I need an operation next season, I'm out for the season of half of it. How do I meet that requirement, especially when I only know so many wheelchair users, and most of them are already season ticket holders? Like, for example, next week, I'm going to go to the Rugby League Magic Weekend, and I'm struggling to sell my Wolves ticket on the ticket transfer. I don't want to use that, but unfortunately, I don't know any other wheelchair users. So if I had to go back to surgery, for example, I'm in a situation where I can't give my ticket back to the club because no one's going to buy it off the ticket transfer. And then that way, I lose my season ticket due to surgery reasons. And it's not no one's fault.
There's been people saying on the Blue Moon forums that if you've got a reason, like health reasons or caring for relatives reasons or things like that, you know, maybe not other reasons, but certainly things like serious health issues or caring duties, that the club would actually listen to that and you wouldn't lose your ticket. Now, how true that is, I don't know. But that has been put forward as a reason not to worry if you are in the situation where you're going to lose your ticket. You know, you're worried about losing your ticket through missing games through ill health. Now, I don't know. You know, if you're missing half a season because you've got an operation, the club might be lenient. I don't think they'd let it go on year after year after year. And obviously, if it's an issue of caring for your family, you know, family members, whatever, then that could potentially go on year after year after year.
So where's the evidence of that, Jed? Then
there's
no evidence.
No, that is
not evidence.
That is just hearsay on the Blue Moon website.
It's not evidence, is it? You know, the club can easily add the information at the same time. That's the whole point. They could turn around and say, this is the situation. And if you've got a problem, these are the circumstances where we're going to give you some leeway, some flexibility. Even last year, people who were felt pregnant and can defer it for a year were told no.
Yeah.
There's no details.
I was about to say
that's the whole point.
About people being pregnant. Well, what are they going to do? So if you have a child, that's it. You're done.
What do you do? Because you have to prove it.
Population growing here or something. Well, what are we doing?
What we're doing is annoying long-term supporters. That's what we're doing as a club. We're just annoying long-term supporters. I mean, from my position, I've had a season ticket over 50 years. I'm in my late 60s, so I'm getting it half price. But I'm still pigged off that people are being asked to pay 71 quid for tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I'm pigged off that people were paying 61 quid against Palace as the lowest price for an adult. You know, and like Dante was saying before, it's something we discussed on the phone earlier tonight, Dante and I, but the Villa game, the last three home games are potentially at night. You know, Wolves might be midweek. Bournemouth might be midweek. It might be on the Sunday night, depending on how the semi-final goes. But something like the last three games of the season being at night, he's not going to do anything for the crowds when you've got ticket prices at 71 quid. And there seems to be absolutely nothing. You know, you look at the ticket pages and we're selling out very, very close to the game. Across the board, we're selling out close to the game. So where the hell are we going to get 8,000 more people from? Unless we have some serious massaging of prices.
And Bournemouth, obviously,
the Bournemouth agencies aren't going to shift that many for every game.
So why have they not announced the Bournemouth? You know, if the Bournemouth game isn't going to take place on that Sunday, when is it going to take place? You know, like I say, Briggsy, you've got to book an hotel, you've got to book a train. A lot of the season ticket holders, you know, aren't in Manchester. You know, we've always had a nationwide support. You know, through the Junior Blues, we've always been a nationwide club. It's not always been, you know, everybody comes from M14 or something like that. So, you know, people need a plan A and a plan B. How are they going to get back? What time is it going to be? What day is it going to be? They've not said, you know, if the depending on the semi-final, what are the options for Bournemouth? We only know it's going to be at the moment Sunday at 7:00, which again would be, if that's the last home game of the season, and they're going to wait for Kevin De Bruyne to do a lap of honour around the pitch. You know what they're like. They bring out all the videos. Youth team comes out. It's
we're getting home at midnight. And you got 2 hours in the car park getting out. And by the way, because we're all at night, there could be these co-op arena events going on. I haven't even checked.
Then everybody's waiting for the same tram for an hour and a half to get out.
There's enough trams as well to go by.
So
the trams are getting more reduced.
The whole point about Bournemouth was that it should be obvious when the alternative date will be. As Dante was saying, Bournemouth's going to be either on the Sunday night or some other time. It's got to be before the end of the season. Both teams are out of Europe. obviously Bournemouth weren't in it, but there's only a limited number of games when that Bournemouth game could be played, a limited number of dates. Why the hell didn't they announce it as soon as he said 7 o'clock on Sunday or such and such a date if City are in the cup final? That's all they needed to do. But they're just leaving
That's
us
why I
hanging
go
on.
back, Jed. Jed, that's why I'd say it should be a standalone date, full stop, because you've also got to consider Bournemouth fans travelling up. What difference does a Sunday 7 o'clock make from a Tuesday, Wednesday 8 o'clock game? We should have just set it as the Wednesday, full stop, so everyone knows where to stand. Us as City fans that have got to travel across England up to Manchester, and the Bournemouth fans who need to know what day they're planning, because obviously if it's a midweek, we've got to think of work commitments and childcare commitments.
And this is the thing
Yeah, I mean,
about
I've
10
seen
games,
us away.
isn't it? Sorry. This is the thing about, you can't plan all these games. You can't actually say how many you're going to attend. You know what I mean? Because how many games actually kick off at 3 o'clock on a Saturday? There's very few games that kick off at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. We don't know what time at the start of the season, what odd times are going to be going to the games. And for people to
but with the Bournemouth game, there's very few alternatives.
But we have,
the
Bournemouth
Bournemouth
all
game,
season, though, don't we, Jed? And for somebody
and we have it all season, and that's something that we've had to put up with for over 30 years now. Since Sky started running the fixture list. But the Bournemouth game, it was either the Sunday or something else. There's hardly any time left after that, so it should have been obvious when they're going to play it if it's not played on the Sunday night.
Can I say,
You know what's
Tuesday
weird?
or Wednesday standalone?
A couple of things there. What the protests are about, obviously, is about the club's attitude towards the fans and all ticketing issues. And we use the 9 minutes because it's an ideally to get the media hooked in. So that's the resellers. We draw attention to that, and we're doing 6 minutes because it's drawing attention to season card availability. But that's just some of the issues that are going on there. And they are a last resort. This is last resort because we feel like, they just override fans, etc. No matter how good a job the City Matters reps do, they do, and they do what they can, and they do a good job. So at the end of the day, a lot of the issues that are there are still, need to be sorted. For example, Flexi Gold. So they turned around for years and said Flexi Gold is a season ticket. It's exactly the same thing. We argue it's not at all. Now they're saying, well, if you attended 16 games as a Flexi, you can now get a season ticket. Well, so it's first of all now they're saying it's not a season ticket; it's something new, which is you can now get the traditional season ticket. The headline there they're trying to say is, "Oh, we've brought back some season tickets," but they've not, because they never said at the start of the season if you go to 16 Flexi games, you can be the amount of people who qualify through Flexi Gold will be about 15 or 30 or 60. It's going to be a very small number out of 1,100. So they will offer it to those people. But the amount of people that don't renew a season ticket each year is usually about 800-900. So it'll be far outweighed by the people who drop away. There's still going to be a surplus of seats that don't go to season ticket that'll be going straight in the pot at these daft prices. So it comes back to season card availability is needed. Otherwise, we're all going to pay these daft prices. And a majority.
But we're showing that we can't.
Capacity increases by 8,000. That's
really we're struggling to sell at the increased prices anyway.
The amount of season cards in the stadium will be below like 60%. So it's going to be, 4 people on your row, 4 people around you, all over the block, random people game after game who really don't, contribute much to the atmosphere. And then you start getting towards where a majority of fans in the City end aren't season ticket holders. So we're all having to pay more and more. So, what's going to happen in 5 years' time? We're all paying 80, 90, 100 quid a ticket to get in. If you've dropped away, if you lose your season ticket and you can't back in, you have to pay these daft prices. That's why it's really, really important to try and slow them down, push back now, and try and get something else out of the club that's, we can take and say, right, fine, you're taking us with us.
Yeah, I want to back that up. Nobody wants to do what we're doing. It's a little bit of an extreme thing to go, listen, and hopefully, because someone made a point. When was the last time we did a protest? Was it Main Road?
Franny Lee, Frank Clark.
I mean, God knows. So this is what, like people said earlier on, Arsenal and United have been doing protests for God knows how long. Chelsea are doing one weekly now. Tottenham are doing one.
We're not protesting to get the owners out. Far from.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not. We hate the owners.
Take us with us a little bit more on some of these long-term decisions, because it's a lot of short-term decisions at the minute in terms of or we want to achieve record profits, at all costs. But the downside is that loads of good Blues can't keep going each season. And then when you come to a big game like tomorrow and it's not full, I mean, that's criminal, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know as well, with the Flexi Gold situation, I was at the match the other day, and one of my friends who's got a Flexi ticket, when we found out about the criteria saying if you've attended 16 matches on the Flexi, you can upgrade to a gold or platinum. Well, why did they not release that back at the start of the season in the terms and conditions, or at least in Christmas, so you can plan ahead? Because obviously, if they said this at Christmas, then you can work up to that 16 games. Because if you've missed out now because of that threshold, not everyone can attend all the 16 games because of like work commitments, and then they've missed out the chance to upgrade because they've announced it at the end of the season.
Well,
so
that's
someone's going to be stuck on the Flexi.
Because they've just made it up as they go along, and they've just made it up to try and stop any more protests. And they're trying to say, well, look, the headline is we've brought back some season tickets. But it's not. We've brought back like 30 or 40, and then we'll still have lost about 800 because people drop away. So we'll still be down 700 odd season tickets. So
yeah,
we're not.
I mean, I will say that, Hara. Yeah, it's like the disabled parking thing. Do you think they'd have said, if there'd have been nothing said about that, do you think that they would have changed it back to you get your money back, or they would have kept charging us to go in for the parking? It's because, but they wanted to make themselves look like, look, this is what we were going to do. We're the saviours. It's a little bit naughty, a little bit the way they do it sometimes.
Yeah, it's just all I'm saying is though, what if someone's like missed out on that criteria to upgrade by one game, and that one game could have made all the difference if they announced that criteria back in like by December, and you could have worked around that extra one game, and then you can upgrade to gold or platinum next season.
Well, they had no intention of doing it at the time, Harry. That's the whole point. They've just done it now to get a headline and to say, "Oh, we've brought back season tickets." So you don't
made them look good.
Load of bollocks.
Yeah.
And
I agree. It's tactics.
You could be in the last three. The kickoff times, the last 3-4 home games this season will have stopped certain people getting close to it. Maybe, you know what I mean. And somebody who's probably, what if you're waiting on that Bournemouth game to get a season ticket next year? And you don't know if you can. You've got to buy it 3 weeks in advance, so you don't know if you can go. I know a guy who's a Flexi Gold holder from Ireland who comes over, and he won't know whether to buy a ticket or not because he doesn't know when the game's going to be played. So that could cost him, technically, an upgrade for next season. And there'll be no sympathy, will it? It'll just be like, oh, well, you've not met the criteria. Sorry, we can't help you.
I definitely agree, Dante. It's clever tactics, but it's just something that shouldn't be announced this late in the season.
Yeah. Well, it's not that clever because everyone can see through it. But they're drip feeding it. They're not announcing it. If they announce it in one go, then everyone sees through it and goes, "Ah, right, you're screwing us over." But they tried to pacify people with a freeze, which was the bare minimum, and then they didn't freeze the match day prices, which are too high. And then they're trying to then take, well, we've given you that, so we're going to start taking things away, make it tighter. Next year we'll make it 17 games attendance and this, that, and the other. So they're gonna try and make it harder and harder for you to renew. With less people for you on your friends and family. So they want you to, well, I've got no option but to send it to the ticket exchange. And we've had it with, I've seen Jed talking to Danny Wilson 10 years ago. What's happening with level 2? They kept it quiet, and then it was all announced. People having to move, for hospitality that doesn't sell out most of the time.
Yeah. Well, that was when we had that meeting, and the club were talking about what they were going to do with level 2 and the South Stand expansion. And they just said that they were adding the third tier to the South Stand, obviously, and there'd be a hospitality block in the middle of the second tier. And that means that you get no continuity from the bottom tier to the top tier in terms of noise travel. Irrespective of how good the acoustics are, if you've got that large empty, that large silent block in the middle of the South Stand, you're going to hit the atmosphere. And then when they introduced Joe's and 9320 at the south end of the second tiers of the Colin Bellanese stand, and I got shifted out my seat for that, otherwise I'd have been paying twice as much. But again, you've got what's largely a corporate area on level 2, and there's no transmission of sound from the top tier to the bottom tier or the other way around, you know, and you're automatically impacting on the atmosphere.
Which is why we're getting involved with a lot of
everybody at that meeting agreed to that, but the club. Sorry, Dante.
I was going to say, which is why we're getting into this territory, because we're an atmosphere group, and you know we're sort of you know, we can. That's why people say, "Oh, it's quiet. Why isn't it working?" You know, there's plenty of blues in that stadium all over the ground who love to sing, do it away games. They love to sing at home games when it catches on, but nobody's making it easy for us. You know,
no.
We're you know, it used to be all regular faces where we are. You got people around us who don't even know what seat they're in, never been here before, and don't understand the fan culture, don't understand match day culture at the ground, don't know the songs, you know, and that's the way it's going.
Yeah. I had Arsenal away in the wheelchair section. There was a woman in front of me, definitely a tourist, because when obviously the last few goals went in, the third, the fourth, the fifth, she started recording the Arsenal fans celebrating. And I said to her, put your phone down, you're on the City fans. Because if I didn't say anything, someone else would. And that phone could have easily been smacked onto the ground, because obviously you're in the City end, sorry, so you're representing the City fans. But last thing you need is a tourist doing that. And obviously it escalates into danger.
What I would say is that, you know, for fan action, if you take the piss out of City fans, the City fans won't have it. We've seen that over the years, haven't we? And I don't think that some of the people at the club understand the fan base. Even now, they don't get the fan base. They've not wanted to get the fan base. If anyone at City, like Calder, it's unlikely, but like say Soriano, Danny Wilson, Roll de Vries, even Francine Warburton, people who are at good levels of the club, said to you, Martin, can we have an hour on your show? Can we come on and explain things from the club's point of view about what we want to do, how we want to work with the fan base? You would say, no problem, come on. We absolutely love to have you on. But they don't. We
don't communicate like that.
No,
we'll communicate with the different fans on these podcasts, but no one from the club is doing it. Which is the whole point.
Because they react. They don't proact. They're not proactive on anything. They're reacting to everything.
Everything's got to be like non-disclosure agreements and kept quiet. And then, like say, City Matters guys, they're in a rock and a hard place because they've got a club that, you know, sometimes will just give them lip service, and they've got a fan base who don't always think that they can deliver as well, and they're doing their best. So at the end of the day, it's like, you know, the governance of it sets them up to fail sometimes. This is why sometimes I think you can achieve more on the outside, because you can just say what you want and you can do what you want, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and all this comes back to is we want to be part of it. Take us with you.
Well, that was the whole thing. Is if you go back to certainly the main road days when this was going on, but also the first few years at the Etihad, when we used to have the Points of Blue meetings with the club, which was generally anybody who wanted to turn up, plus people like Lisa Eaton, Danny Wilson from the club, and occasionally that Macintosh guy whose name I can't remember, whose first name I can't remember, but there was meetings with the club.
Alistair Macintosh.
Alistair Macintosh, yeah. We were having meetings with them every so often, and all right, they weren't always constructive, but at least it was an interface between the club and the supporters. And to be perfectly honest, for all I know that certain members of City Matters are working very hard, it still doesn't feel like a full meeting between the club and the fans. It seems like the club are just paying lip service to City Matters. You know,
it doesn't need to be like that, does it? Because in the day,
of course it doesn't.
We've got the great football that we've had. We've got owners that can shape the club and make it absolutely like world leading thing. But then you have a corporation. You can be an ethical corporation. You can be. Don't have to be Disneyland. You don't have to be Coca-Cola. That's a company with no emotion.
Don't call it Disneyland, Danny. It gives me flashbacks to that interview. That's the mentality, isn't it? But you can also, you can also do it in a different way. You can be a little bit kinder to your core base and your core support. And we know that the owners want an investment, but I think the argument is their argument is, well, we've got to put the prices up because that's, you know, that we've got to keep pace with business. But actually, I think there's a case to say, well, if you reduce prices slightly more and, you know, invest in the communication side and take people with you, you get a lot more of a happier
fan base who'll probably spend more in the stadium on things because they feel happy and good about things. They won't go to the local pub and spend 25 quid there. They'll spend it in the stadium more. And you surely first thing you want is full attendance. So if you sell 55,000 tickets, you want everybody to turn up. I had this before, Martin. I did say 15,000 the other week because there's a times where they turn around and say there's up to 7,000 or 8,000 season tickets not turning up, but there's other fans where they've not sold out the tickets. There are occasions when there's less than 15,000. There's 15,000 empty seats in the stadium, and they should be filling those. Like say the League Cup games and stuff. They should be filling those the stadium every single week. That's like £500,000 to £1 million of extra revenue. When people don't turn up, they could be spending that in the stadium. So that the whole thing of like, well, we've got to make it 71 to compete with Real Madrid is a nonsense. Just make it 54, 55, and then people will spend 15, 20 quid more in the stadium. If anyway, you know what I mean? But you've got to have a fairness. It's like a 2-tier system with Viagogo. It's like we want to bring in attract a worldwide fan base. So it's almost like you're making it harder for the traditional fans to keep going to the games, but we're happy to welcome anybody as long as you pay the right amount of money. We're happy to sort of accommodate you in the stadium. That's the issue. It's fairness. It's not about like, oh, you're from America or you're from China or you're from Japan. It's about fairness. I mean, bloody hell, I'd go back to the old days. I'd go back to queuing outside the ticket office for your ticket overnight. You know what I mean? It's those were the days, weren't they? You had to queue up and get you.
You got a free stadium tour when we did that for Wembley. Everyone was like ringing up the family members to swap places with them after 4 hours. See, Manchester, I get what you're saying there, but the problem is this is what everyone is saying. We don't know the club's perspective because they're not talking to anyone. There's no communication.
You just get this black wall, which is not fair.
They don't want fan power.
We don't know what they want. I mean, some will do, but I know it's like people have said, and I know this because I spoke to the club at the very beginning of the season about this because obviously everyone knows my situation with my parents, and I asked the club what happens, and I emailed, and I eventually someone we know, Dante, sent me somewhere I can get direct to. Wasn't through the club, I could get direct, and I got a phone call, and they were very honest. And some of it was about the parking because they were telling me about the plan to build a car park at the back and things like that, and all the planning permission that we needed. And then she was very nice. She gave me the information about the tickets, and she said, "If you don't attend as many games, yes, you do lose it." That is unless. But I had to send in doctor's reports. I had to send in proof of my mum and dad having the illness that they had. I literally had to send them like War and Peace to prove this. And I'm like, but this isn't even for me. This is for my mum and dad. So you're asking for. I mean, I was questioning, does it go against GDPR actually at that point?
Right, means testing that they do for benefits.
Yeah, where are we going with this?
I'm sure Pablo Zabaleta doesn't do that with his season ticket. He's got a season ticket for life. I don't think he's attended a game since he's, on the pitch against West Ham 2017. I mean, his season ticket must be at risk now. Then surely.
Well, yeah, I got one, didn't I? Yeah,
I got one.
Sergio
David Silva got one.
Yeah, I missed them days.
So they have to put them on the exchange?
Probably.
And this comes back to what I said to you earlier about what if someone had like a medical surgery? Do you have to prove that you've literally been in the hospital? Do you have to send like a picture of your brace in? It's not enough.
No, but that's
unfortunately.
With you, if they were asking me, I'd understand it a bit more. But they're asking for my mum and dad's details, and
that's personal, isn't it? Confidential.
Yeah, it's the meaning. GDPR myself, but I don't know.
So we're doing a lot of moaning, but I would say the solution is that we want that there is a better way, and I think unfortunately, season cards have got to come back in some way, in some number, and we're always talking January's when the new tickets go on sale for the new stand and stuff. So unfortunately, this might carry on now and again at certain games, right up into the new season. You know what I mean? Because fans have got to understand they have got a bit of power here. If they season card holders at each club are the biggest individual group at each club. You know, we've got 30-odd thousand at City, and some of them I feel all right. I've got a season ticket freeze now. Some of them are like, no, but my family, I can't get them a season ticket. I want to bring them in. So it does affect everybody. You got to think of your fellow blue, but why it's important.
Well, Danny, what is the plan for tomorrow night? Just to give everyone a plan, rundown, and what.
So what we're doing tomorrow is we'll be leafleting outside various reps and different organisations. Leafleting outside the ground from about 6:30, speaking to fans, getting feedback, you know, collating evidence, passing it on. 7 o'clock outside the Colin Bell, similar to the Leicester game, there'll be some banners there, people inviting people to come along, just join in together. And, you know, again, the banners kind of, so please don't take my city away, which is from that You Are My City song. So it's how some people feel at the moment. They feel like they're losing the city at the moment. And then obviously we've got a display inside the stadium, and then it's a top 5 game against a direct rival, which is why we're not doing anything inside the ground for this game.
Yeah, it's fully backing the team.
But the Wolves, well, yeah, and even the Leicester game, you saw it. You know, people inside the stadium kept quiet for the first time. So if they were in the stadium, they still kept quiet. It made a massive impact about if you price out the real fans, or you don't give a real fan chance getting a ticket. You know, it can make a massive impact on the stadium. But, you know, as we build up to the Wolves game, if you know, there's a lot of people now saying, well, even if they bring back something before Wolves, we still got to make a point. So I think there's going to be another big concourse process, which really is all you need to do. Just stay there, finish your drinks, talk to your mates, and then come out a few minutes into the game. It's not ranting and raving. It's not like, you know, having to sort of, you know, throw bricks at a director's box or anything like that. You're just really making a point by, you know, having their empty seats on TV makes a massive point, you know, because City like to use the footage, the City TV, that goes around the world. It means the commentators then have to explain the process. It means the club have to then come up with something to appease the fans. So we can't do this all the time, and we're not going to do this all the time. But clearly there is an opportunity, and the fans said to us, it went so well against Leicester, you'd be stupid to not do it again. So that's what we'd say. As for everybody's understanding, this is going to benefit us all. There was people who were saying, all right, my season ticket price is all right. You benefit from a freeze now. You know, if it was being facetious, I could say, well, if you want to pay 40, 50 quid more, feel free, you can do. But everybody's got the benefit of a season ticket freeze, whether they campaign for it or not. And it's the same with this. Everybody will get some benefit if enough people make a point, stand up for the fellow Blues, because, you know, we all know people who don't go anymore, and it's, you know, that's the community that we're all brought up on. That's our life, isn't it?
Can I ask, and anyone can answer this, what is the long-term goal out of this, then, Danny? Because I think, like Manchester's put in, what is the actual solution that people want to get to? What is the overall?
The club's got all the solutions by you know, we're saying is, you know, deal with the fans a different way. You know, have some communication. Let's see them come. You know, we often said, you know, tell us about your business plan next 3, 4, 5 years. You know, they've had to be dragged kicking and screaming by the fans, because a lot of fans would be walking away if they wasn't having a season ticket freeze this year. So we don't know what long term. We'd like to just get behind the team and have no protest. That would be the long term ideal situation. But football is getting more and more expensive, and more of us getting priced out. So, you know, you've got to say, let's see where it goes. Don't let too far ahead. There are 2 more City Mats meetings before the summer, May and June. Surely there's a chance for the club to do something really creative. There's an opportunity for the club to bring back goodwill, but they've kind of rushed out a statement on the edge of bank holiday, so it gets buried. There's been no mail from the club to ourselves to say, here's the season ticket information. They've not given those details. They've been selling like Forest tickets, and, you know, there's been other mails, but nothing on the season ticket actual information that was released on Thursday. And people want to know these details. So why I was sick of people, you know, on the Twitter and stuff parroting the club's lines. You know, we're fans. You know, it's up to the club to give us something. It's not for us to defend the club's decisions all the time. You know what? You know, if you don't actually fight for something, you don't get anything. We've got these freezes now. That's the first stage of something. You've got to do more. It's going to take more than one protest for them to do more.
Yeah.
Also,
All right, John.
I just want to add on this. So after that Leicester protest, everyone on the concourse for 9 minutes. As a wheelchair user on this panel, I do know quite a few wheelchair users, again, as season ticket holders like myself. Spoke to a few of them, and obviously those who took part, they wanted to do it for the right reasons, like why the season ticket prices and match ticket prices getting more and more expensive before they did actually put the freeze in place. But for people who didn't take part, they didn't start questioning those that stood on the concourse for 9 minutes and said, what the fuck are you doing this for? They supported the idea because they knew the message was more powerful than just standing there for 9 minutes, just singing songs on the concourse. There are people who might not took part that night in the protest, but they did fully understand it, and that's also coming from the wheelchair user's perspective. Now, the long-term solution to fixing this is just basic liaison with like 1894, City Matters. That's all we're asking for. And I mean, it's fair to say this because I don't think it's been brought up yet. If the season ticket price is getting frozen now, they can't justify it next season going on to next by putting the price up by an extra £100 or 150, whatever that may be, because that'll be basically two increases in one full go. They've got to, if they're going to increase it, do it very, very gradually next season. Otherwise, the point of this freeze becomes irrelevant.
But I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out next season. Again, with all these extra tickets to sell, if those don't go, if those tickets aren't shifted, then the club really has to start looking at season ticket prices and match day prices. And like I said earlier, if those if we're currently selling out 50-odd thousand, home tickets, 50,000 home tickets a couple of days before the game, then there's absolutely no way we're going to be shifting an extra 8,000 tickets for league games for, we'll say, maybe 16 out of the 19 league games. They're just not going to sell. And the club will then have to start looking at price drops. So they should be considering that now, unless the club, of course, have more information that, about the number of people wanting to buy those tickets. But my impression is because they sell out so late, there can't be a huge waiting list for the tickets. Now, like I say, I don't know where those extra 8,000 are going to come from, but it's not going to be 8,000 lapsed fans if the prices are 70 odd quid for Villa midweek. The 8,000 people aren't going to pay that price. Not 16, 18
Is the Bournemouth price up? Is the Bournemouth price up now?
Bournemouth is 61, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
But again, you don't quite know what day that game's going to take place on, because if it gets the cup final, it'll get moved again, won't it? So, you might think it's going to be the Tuesday, Wednesday midweek after the cup final, but you just don't know, do you? You just don't know.
You see, for that you see, for that Bournemouth game, Hull City did this, and I know this is completely different because it's Championship, but these games that you've got short notice turnarounds where they're going to change the game, they should be doing some sort of special offer, because Hull City did this against Luton Town, and they started charging the fans £15 when the normal match day ticket was £30, because fans aren't going to pay £71 for Villa tomorrow because of short notice turnaround. Same with Bournemouth in a couple of weeks when you don't know that's going to be. Why not set a cap and say it's £40? £40 just because of the short notice. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I'm guessing that, like Palace, Bournemouth are going to send a load of tickets back. They're not going to take, or was it less than that? They're not going to take the top shelf. Consequently, they'll all go for 30 quid. Now, obviously, that'll leave empties elsewhere in the ground. But I think for Bournemouth, there will be a lot of cheaper tickets for City fans to buy, simply because it's a Sunday night. I mean, I'm not saying Bournemouth fans won't travel. I just don't think they'll take the full allocation.
But Jed, we had that against Leicester though, because Leicester, I can see Bournemouth bringing 800. You know what I mean, and having the two tiers 3 and 2 for City. And if you're a City fan, and there's no point buying a ticket for 61, because if I wait until a week before the game, I might get one for 30 quid.
Of course.
So they're overpricing it. So even so, though, against Leicester sent back 1,300 tickets in Tier 3, and they didn't all go. They only sold about 600 tickets at the 30 because people are so fucked off with it all. They've already made the decision, I'm not going to go again. They ended up having to give away tickets, like international students, and there was people who had never been to a game before and this sort of thing, who actually were having a good time and joining with some of the songs. And well, that just shows you, I mean, it's people who want to support City who live locally who cannot get to a game. Do you know what I mean? Who can't afford to get to a game. But you're devaluing the ticket completely. You're either making it too high or then giving it away for free. It's like, who decides? Who actually decides?
Yeah,
I know
the
price to play in.
You've also got an issue where people, lapsed supporters or whatever you want to call them, legacy supporters, whatever term you want to give to people who don't turn up very often, they don't want to be stuck. They're happy to pay 30 quid for a ticket, but they don't want to be stuck with watching Salford or Plymouth in the cup, at cheap games, or effectively getting cast-off tickets for Palace and Bournemouth.
Great point.
They don't want to be doing that when they can't go to the games against Arsenal, United, and Real Madrid.
So that's an amazing point. And so when I went to the Salford game, the Plymouth game, I saw those people I went to school with, like people who brought the kids and this sort of thing. And it's like, I know that in the 90s, I stood with them all the time, and even in the early 2000s, we still go to the game with them. And obviously, they've fallen away. But they are now reliant on League Cup, third round, fourth round, fifth quarterfinal.
Yeah.
The
Carabao Cup.
Yeah, rather than third round League Cup, that's the games they will go to because they can't afford to go. The support is there. They just can't get in. They can't get in their own stadium.
Because we did do it. When was it done? When was the Fulham Cup game? Was that 2 years ago now? But it was quid a kid. Remember
they've done it occasionally, yeah.
Yeah. So they can do it. It's there.
That was 10 quid, I think. It was January.
That's why they should do it with more special offer prices. Just imagine saying, because of the mess about with Bournemouth or Villa tomorrow, but they could be put in saying, let's meet you in the middle, £40 for a Bournemouth max adult, and then any concessions, let's say 25, 30 quid. Then you'll get the bums on seats, especially because it's Kevin De Bruyne's last home game. Yeah. People will want to be there, but we're going to have empty seats because it's a midweek game.
You should make a big thing out of that, and
they don't understand their own fan base, unfortunately, still, and that's because they've kept a distance from the fan base. And Khaldoon's off with so many other companies, etc. He can't, he flies over the day before a game and stuff like that. But really, as people under him who make those decisions, Khaldoon said a few years ago, we've hit the ceiling now. The City fans don't want to pay any more at the moment, and we're still having these price rises. So, it's people who are under him.
Khaldoon gets it. I've always said that Khaldoon gets it. But the trouble is, Khaldoon's that busy in other areas. It's like any business. If you're that you have managers on sections and you let them, deal with it. When Khaldoon's not around because he's so busy, he's letting other people deal with it. But they're not listening to what he wants, clearly.
Well, that's why we're having to go. The only way you can go above those people is if Mansour and Khaldoon see that. And the only way you can, it's a collective approach. You're sat in the director's box at City, level 2, and you can see after 9 minutes or 6 minutes against Wolves, thousands of people streaming in from every single block, from every single aisle down the staircase, and the noise then picks up from that moment. That is incredibly powerful. And that's what the City fans did a couple of weeks ago. It was incredibly powerful. And it went on. And the game wasn't live in England, but it was live all around the world. And all the commentators in all the countries around the world had to explain what we had mailed people in Australia sending us, the links, the people explaining what was happening, and they had to say the City fans have got protests about the tickets and issues here. Now that has actually gone straight to the top of the club who say, right, bang, there's a PR issue here, get it sorted out straight away. And that's what happens. So that's what you can do. You can't do it all the time because of extreme measures, but it's necessary. It's going to be necessary next couple of home games.
Was it that long ago, Jack? I'm showing my age now. I'm showing my age. I'm not, and Dante made a great point. I think it was on the last show. There's never a good time to do this, but you don't want to be doing it when we're on a title charge, which could be next season. So let's do it now while we can. And it's being done peaceful. No, there's no flares, fireworks. There's none of that stuff going on. It is a peaceful
The only,
protest.
the only flares is Jed's pants.
Well, no, not until Dante gets going. If Dante starts his sing-along like he was... I've never seen you that loud, Dante. I think
You're
it's
coming to
the one
South
stood
Stand, mate.
next to you.
Yeah, we'll get Martin in South Stand. Martin, when relocation opens, join over.
I was pushing Steve towards it. Like, no, Steve's got a face for TV, not me.
Can I just say one last thing? I know we're going to wrap up soon. It's like, you know, we have got the freeze now, and I know there are issues there, but if we were to appeal to everybody, what they want you to do is give up your season ticket. But for fuck's sake, keep your season ticket at all costs and make sure, pick very carefully the sort of 3 or 4 people that you can think that would take your ticket if you can't go to that game. Keep your season ticket. And if you really want to get involved with, like, you know, the atmospheric end, you know, and you're not sure, you might be in the Colleen Bell, you might be in the East End. Okay, well, go towards Kippax Corner, go to South 3, South 2, South 1, fill in those gaps and make it so loud that it does transform across the whole stadium. You know what I mean? I know people in the North Stand, you're waiting to hear what's happening. You're waiting for a full consultation. You've got no idea. Don't know anything. Tier 2, what is happening there at Tier 2? I don't know. What I'm just saying is there's always a chance there that if you really care about the atmosphere, let's say, and you're getting frustrated about where you are, 1, absolutely renew your season ticket. 2, maybe think about going in the South Stand because it's it can be good in there. You know what I mean? It was good. It was good against Palace. You know what I mean? It was a laugh. It was.
I keep saying this. I am gonna, because I don't even know if I've got to wear a poncho next season. I don't know if from August to December I'm in a poncho. I have no idea because I know nothing about it. I don't think Andy's had anything on his in level 2. But hopefully, touch wood, I'll move over to the South Stand next year. That's the plan, because that's where my son wants to go, occupy Corner. We want to get over there.
Give us a sing song, Martin.
No. Did you say, I know we're going to wrap up now, and I do appreciate Jed, Harry, and Danny's time, and everyone in the comments. You've all been amazing. Thank you. There's a display tomorrow as well?
We've got to pick it up, actually. We've got to pick it up, actually. We normally keep a display, but it's something linked to this whole thing. So we've told the club what it is. So it's nothing like, it's quite subtle. It's linked to, so please don't take my city away. So we want to do something that's, pulls at the heartstrings. But we've got to pick it up tomorrow daytime. That's the only thing. It's not it was a last minute kind of decision about what game we're going to do a protest for. So we've got a good printers in Lancashire, Bake-Up Way, that is all blues and does a good discount for us. So be glad when it's fucking pre-season. Have a fucking rest, honestly. Be fucking great.
We've got Club World Cup then, don't we?
Oh, that's a load of bollocks. Not asked about that.
It's not good at that.
Don't give a shit about that.
I'm the same. I'm the same.
Do you know what's sad though? We're talking about this, and we should be looking at this is the sad situation. Looking at KDB's last few games coming up, and but it is what it is. It's not everything. Listen, 1894, MCFC Food Bank, everyone involved in this, City Matters, is doing an amazing
Blues.
Yeah.
And
please help.
So we have different groups that we'll do things with. We don't always do things with the OSB or with City Matters. So if we're going to campaign against a stewarding, we wouldn't be working with Trade Union Blues because they'd be saying, oh well, they're workers too, and you can't pick on them. So the thing is we'll use different groups for different things, and by it all works. And again, we've got quite a lot of different fan groups now at the club, and most of the time we all pull in the same direction. So I would say, get involved, but don't just think, oh, I'm going to the match. Think about everything. Think about everything about what's going to happen the next couple of years at City. We want to still be enjoying the great football. What happens when Pep leaves? You know what I mean? It's going to be 62,000 capacity stadium. It's going to be a hard ass to fill it, I think. If they don't get it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what we don't want. We want everyone together, paying a fair price, and we want to go back to where we were. # together. But massive, Jed, anything you want to say before we end, mate? I really do appreciate your time.
No, it's just agreeing with a lot of other people. We need to make sure that the next generation of fans comes along, and we've got to get the pricing right to deal with it. I'm still very concerned about the club being able to fill the extra seats, and I wouldn't want a case where they're going to have to, absolutely panic and halve the prices or quarter the prices just to get people in. We need to have sensible prices. No one's asking for football free. No one's asking for like 10 quid tickets and a fiver for kids for every game. We're looking for sensible prices. And the other thing, for everybody that says it's the price of success, I'm an old git. I had a season ticket in 83. So I bought my ticket for 84 before I knew what division we'd be playing in. I didn't see a price reduction when we got relegated. I didn't see a price reduction in 96 when we got relegated, or 98. The club wants to keep the supporters on side, so they can't charge us more when we're doing well if they hadn't charged us less when we were doing poorly. We never got reductions following relegations. We shouldn't be getting stupid price increases because we've enjoyed a bit of success.
Well, we won the treble. We were told prices got to go up because we're playing the best team in the world. Okay, but then when we finish fifth or we have a bad season, does that mean that the prices then go down 6% because we've been 6% worse than we were? Do you know what I mean? So,
and those prices haven't gone down.
Yeah. So I think the club, the club don't understand is like the fans have hit a ceiling. Match day pricing is a massive issue, but also season ticket price for next year. We'll just have to look and see what people feel about it. We survey people. You can't say at this moment in time there should be a freeze or what. It's just we'll have to survey fans, see what they think. We give that information to the club. Everything we've said publicly, we've said privately. Sometimes they respond and sometimes they just don't bother. And City Mass the same. Sometimes they will say things to the club privately and then they don't respond and they've got to say things more publicly now, which they've been doing. So that's it. It's sadly you're dealing with a very big corporation that happy to do whatever Nissan wants because they'll give him 10-15 million £, but us four who will pay 800 quid a season, well, you can fuck off.
But many other big corporations know that their customers can go elsewhere. You're a football supporter, you're not going to go elsewhere. You might go and watch a couple of non-league games or something like that, but you're not going to suddenly decide, right, Bury have got promoted to something like the 7th division. I'll start watching them home and away. You're loyal to the club and you want the club to be loyal to the fans.
Yeah, you just
and that's what we are. We are fans. We're fans, not customers. And it's about time the club realise that.
Martin, why don't you invite someone from the club on?
I would love to.
Give it a public thing and say.
I will ask you. I've just said if anyone from the club wants to ever come on and give your side, the invitation is there. I've tagged the club in all this. You want to come on?
Tell us.
And by the way, it didn't have to be us. Because by the way, this is the South Stand's on it today. Amazing show in that 320 podcast ourselves. We'll do it as you want to sit down, have a conversation. It is there. The invitation is open.
Let them come on and talk about things and about how they see the relationship with the fans. You know what I mean? Let them come on. There is a PR issue there for them. Would love to hear what they've got to say about it. Surely, they've got something positive they can say about things.
Yeah. And if anyone knows anyone, listen, we will. You are always welcome. And it will be an adult conversation. There'll be no anything. Honestly. The invitation is always there. And I will email people as well about that.
We'll be on before Wolves. We can all come on again before Wolves, or you know what I mean? It's we'll leave it to you, Martin.
Yeah, no, will do. Massive thank you to Harry coming on, for Jed and for Dante. I will see you probably all tomorrow, 7 p.m. outside. Yeah. I'll bring the earplugs for Dante singing this time. By the way, there is this. Go and give 9320 podcast and the South Stand earlier. All different. Everyone has come together tonight. So big up to every single group, everyone who's come together. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, all.